welcome everyone. Um, this is the very first event of the Administrator Leadership Excellence Academy, and we're really happy to be getting this off the ground and have you all here. I'm going to turn this over right now to Amy Dalsimer, who will introduce the other people here.
Thank you, Marian. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining the Administrator Leadership Excellence Academy, or we call it ALEA for short. We're thrilled to be getting started today. I'd like to first ask Beth Ponder to say a few words, as well as Lori Slayton from the Texas Workforce Commission.
Good morning, everyone. This is Beth Ponder at TCAL. I want to welcome you. We are so excited for this leadership opportunity for our administrators here in Texas. I want to just introduce our team. I am the lead here at Train PD, working with Olga Escamilla, who's graciously hosting for us this morning, and Robin Booth. So we're your ALEA team here at TCAL. Lori, would you like to say good morning?
I always welcome the opportunity to speak. Good morning, everyone. What a thrilling morning. I'm very excited about kicking off the ALEA. Anson and I will both be involved from the Texas Workforce Commission. And just welcome to everyone. I'm ready to get started.
Wonderful. Thank you, Beth and Lori, and thanks to Olga and Robin for being part of our support team from Train PD. I'm Amy Dalsimer from the American Institutes for Research, and I'm going to ask my colleagues who are joining me as part of this project to introduce themselves quickly so you know who we are. Marian, do you want to introduce yourself quickly?
Hi, I'm Marian Thatcher. I'm from American Institutes for Research. You're not going to see a whole lot of me. You're going to see a lot of Amy and Paula, but I'm behind the scenes making sure everything happens when and how it needs to happen. So thank you.
Thank you. And I'm also from AIR. This is Amy Dalsimer. I'm going to be helping to facilitate the workshops, and just a little background on me. I joined AIR almost a year ago, but prior to that, I was the executive director of pre-college programming at LaGuardia Community College and a leader of adult education programs for a number of years, and I'm really excited to be part of this learning community in Texas. And especially excited to welcome Paula Summer, who is a quality Texas Baldrige coach, and we're going to learn a lot about Baldrige today, but I'd like to ask Paula to introduce herself and say a little bit more about who she is and her work.
I'd like to join the team today, and what an excellent team and experience I've had so far. Yes, I have been with the Baldrige concepts for over 25 years and recognized not only internationally but at the state level. I've worked with school districts over 20 years, and I'm currently working and coaching, doing executive coaching with school districts, several of which are curriculum and instruction leaders in their area. So very familiar with some of the challenges of engaging adults and some of the problems that you have in terms of managing attention. So with this being a webinar, we've got some ways that we hope to keep you engaged, and we'll look forward to having your input at the end as to how well we did with that. So with that, shall we move forward?
Thank you, Paula. Yes, so just really quickly so we can have a view of what we're doing and our goals for this Excellence Academy. We're going to be exploring, as Paula said, the Baldrige Excellence Framework, which is really an approach to organizational improvement and leadership development. And so over the course of our time together, we're going to be looking closely at leadership strategies and customers in particular, and how to look at what's happening within your organization and how to address challenges or improvement projects that as a leader in your organization you might want to take up. We're definitely going to be identifying opportunities based upon your own self-assessment and program data. And really our goal here is to have you design a program improvement initiative, and through that process, through the process of actually leading that initiative in your organization, building your leadership and management and administrative skills through that process. So this morning we have 31 participants. We have 8 teams of 2 or more administrators from the same agency, which is wonderful because as you begin to think about your improvement projects and what you'd like to develop within your own organization, you'll have, for those of you who are in teams, a partner in crime, so to speak, to help with that planning. I think we should, at this point, ask you if you wouldn't mind just saying hello in the chat pod and saying what agency you're from. So if you go to your right, you can say, you know, I would say I'm Amy Dalsimer from AIR. Just introduce yourself in the chat pod now if you would, so we can get a sense of who's in the room. Welcome, Dr. Perdue from Odessa. Welcome, Lorraine from Central Texas, and Juanine from Tarrant County Workforce Development Board. I think that's what it is. Hi, Brian. Good morning, Heather. Hi, Randy. Welcome. Welcome, Mary Francis from Paris Junior College. And Josh, thank you for joining us. Good morning, Crystal and Heather and Christina. Wonderful. Hi, Maria. We're really glad to have you all here, and we're really looking forward to meeting you. Good morning, Alex Ripley from Birdville ISD. Welcome, Marcus. Good morning, Maria. Wonderful. Thank you all for taking the time to introduce yourselves. We're really looking forward to working with you and meeting you in person. So just to make sure that we understand where we're going, and I want to ask that you note these dates so that you have them. We're today focusing on our kickoff webinar. Our next meeting will also be virtual on June 10th, and we'll be sending out an invite for that. But if you want to mark your calendars now, same time, 9 a.m. On June 10th. And then we're really excited because we're going to be meeting face-to-face on July 19th in San Antonio for our first all-day in-person training session. Then we'll have another webinar in September, followed by a second in-person day of training October 11th, which will be in Austin, and a final webinar on October 31st. And then we'll be telling you more about a pre-conference event that'll be planned on December 3rd in order for you to present your improvement projects and celebrate your accomplishments. So we'll definitely be sharing these dates again, but please make sure to mark your calendars for these important ALEA timeline dates. So I'm going to turn it over to Paula now, who is going to lead us through today's session.
So we want this to be, as you can see, your academy and your learning. And we think it's very important for you to understand why we chose this and what you will experience as you go forward. One of the things that we'll be closing with are talking about the 2 assignments that you'll have as we lay the foundation and the building stones for the learning that you will have. So the 2 tools that you'll be learning, the first one you'll be working with as between this webinar and the second webinar, that's Are We Making Progress? And then you'll have second tool that we will introduce on the next webinar, which has to do with the Baldrige Builder. So we think that all of these will help you then with the process of deciding where do you want to pick that great project that you'll be reporting on at the end of the year. So as we think about the Baldrige method, one of the things that's very important, I guess, for you to know is the fact that it has proven results in every type of industry over the last 30 years. And it has been so successful that countries all around the world have been adopting it. You may be familiar with some of the ones who have been recognized not only at the state level, but also nationally, that has used this process very, very successfully in improving. And the interesting thing about this process that once a company engages in it, they seldom leave it. They may not apply for the award again, but companies like Dell, colleges like Richland College and Alamo College, cities like Irving, and some of y'all will, if you have not already heard, El Paso will receive the award next month for the state, and they are looking at the national recognition now. Freese and Nichols, an engineering firm, K&N Management, and some of y'all may have been to Ruby's Barbecue. They use it to have effective practices. So much to learn from these examples. So we want this academy to provide you the opportunity to learn, to gain skills and leadership methodologies that's proven itself over these 30 years, and know that whatever industry that your students will be going to or colleges, that this has worked extremely well and becomes one of the things that not only can you apply at work, but you can also use these same thinking practices in order to deal well with your family. So what we want to do is have a focus that equips you to organizational improvement. So here is the picture of the Baldrige model. You have a copy of this in your handout for today. So if you notice, there's 3 boxes on the left-hand side in the center of this and 3 boxes on the right. The 3 boxes on the left are about your leadership, what strategy do you have, and how are you focused on customers. Those 3 boxes kind of talk to each other, and those systems talk to each other all the time. And we think of this as the driver triad that then determines, as you see that integration piece in the middle, what you're going to do with your workforce, who you're going to hire, how many do you need. Then operations is about the processes that they have to make it all happen so that you have results. At the bottom of that, you see this long line that says, okay, we can't really do anything well as an organization without knowing and measuring, taking the analysis from our data, and growing that into knowledge management. All of these pieces are formalized pieces in organizations, so that if I went into a Baldrige organization or an organization that uses this concept, I could go and I could look at actual documents in terms of how leadership is structured. I can go on their website and see what their strategy is and how they're dealing with customers. But the things that I can't see is really their core values and concepts that make up their culture. In the next slide, we'll look at one of the groups that have been very successful. Alamo College won national recognition this year, but so did Tri-County Vision. Tri-County is a technical education center that serves 3 counties in Oklahoma. They have high school programs, adult programs. They customize training for business and industry, and they are really focused on breaking the cycle of poverty. These are 5 different measures that they have used to indicate that they are quite head and shoulders above other organizations And with this information, they then become a national best practice winner. Baldrige requires winners to share their best practices. So Tri-County will open their doors to helping people understand how did they get 70% more graduates to further their education. So as you look at these things, I think one of the things that we had was to have in the chat box, what's the most impressive item to you? Item 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? What would you like to be able to say for your organization that you were able to do? I'm seeing a lot of people think number 1, so maybe that's where you want your project to focus on so that you're getting more graduates in a particular program. So keep that in mind as we move forward, because we want you to consider all the different things that are possible using the process and the systems that comprise the Baldrige methodology. One of the things, in order to help individuals grasp what Baldrige can do, is this picture. It's seen a lot, having to do with where is your organization? Are you a number 1 organization where you're reacting to problems? Or number 2 organization where improvement is the orientation and you're starting to move in that direction? Number 3 has really a systematic program. You may see that where people have good strategy and are working together. Number 4 is where there's really learning and strategic improvement. It's not just improvement here or there or 5 places, but it's strategic improvement all across the organization. And then the 5th has to do with there's fabulous systemic organizational analysis and innovation. So let's give you a moment to tell us, where would you put your organization? Level 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? Most organizations, when they start out, are level 2. So those who level 1 and 2 feel a kindred spirit with other Baldrige organizations that really started there. So it is delightful to see that some of you see yourself at learning and having strategic improvement. That is a very high level of performance. Those that have been recognized at the national level would generally be at that level of improvement. Seldom do you see anybody at a level 5, even those who have won the distinction of the award. And sometimes we have people like Ritz-Carlton that's won it twice. There is one company in the state of Texas that are going for their 3rd win, and if so, they will be the first to have won 3 times. You cannot compete after winning the national for 5 years. So that would indicate that they have been using it for quite some time. The City of El Paso is winning the state award for their improvement processes. And if you'd like to have more information about that, you can chat with me offline. I was privileged to help them with their state application. Here's another way of explaining what Baldrige does. So many of you have indicated that you move beyond being reactive into the early stage of getting everybody going in the same direction. Several of you that had said that you were level 4, then I would think of your errors being at a mature level where everybody's going kind of together in that same level. That role model is where the integration and alignment is so strong that if I'm learning one thing in having to deal with customers, that learning about customers helps me with how I improve leadership, strategy, operations, my hiring, and my results. So that's what it means in terms of the role model there. Thank you. So here is a better picture of the Baldrige model. So as you can see, there is a lot of interaction between the three boxes on the left, which really drive what happens in the three boxes on the right. All of that's undergirded with measurement analysis. And one of the things that as the process has progressed over these last 30 years, then the importance of knowledge management. Each year after they use the model, they come back and look at it and see what do we have to improve. And so some of the improvements now include a strong emphasis on risk analysis, especially that having to do with cyber threats and things like that. But as I said before, those are the things in the center are kind of the hard parts that you can see evidence of very clearly. But the thing that really pulls it together are those core values and concepts that make the culture of these organizations different. It's an undergirding piece, and that's why it's shown on the model like that, and it kind of surrounds everything. So the next slide, we look at what are the core values. Well, throughout the 30 years, there have been 11 core values. How these came to be was 30 years ago, people were very concerned, and some of the major companies were very concerned about the ability of the United States to compete. So as these leadership companies came together, they said, what makes it different for us to do, and what makes it different for great organizations to excel? And these are the 11 attributes that they saw in fabulous organizations. That there was systems perspective. Leadership was more than leadership. It was visionary. When it came to customers, you had to focus on excellence. People were very important. So as you look at the list, which does your organization do well? At the last three have gained a lot of emphasis over the time that the criteria has been in existence. A greater emphasis on what are you doing to help society? Are your ethics there? And what about delivering value? So I'm seeing some, okay, 3 is coming up. The delightful thing about you as leaders being the ones in this conversation is the fact that if leadership doesn't have the vision, then it's very, very hard for the organization to move forward. So with each one of y'all being here, then it is a fabulous testimony to what can be achieved. For those who did not respond, then think about, this will be a slide you could go back to and think about what are we good at and what should we be better at as you think about your project. One of the tools that we have that is a Baldrige tool, if you went on the Baldrige website, you'd find this, is a question about are we making progress as leaders? So for each of those little boxes that you saw, and for the measurement, these things are called categories, and they make up 7 categories of the Baldrige. The first category that you see this one here by leadership is asking questions that if you are doing well as a leadership, then these should be some of the things that you could check off is that we are doing well. So in your handout, you'll see this as well. So does your workforce know your organization's mission? Are they able to put it into words that says, this is what I'm doing to accomplish the mission? Do they know the vision and where it is going? Would they say, when they think about the leadership team that, yes, they're ethical and they demonstrate the values that your organization has said that was important? Would they say that the environment that they're in is one that helps them do their job? Would they say that they share information about the organization and they know what's important and what's going on and what to expect in the future? And are you, as leaders, asking them, what do they think? So these handouts will be in your portal. So here's an example of when we think about leadership, then Maplewood Adult Education. And the challenge here is the adoption of college and career-ready teaching approaches and strategies. So a project could be, how do we help everyone get the new vision? How do you ensure all staff understand and adopt and work towards a shared vision? That could be some measures as you think about your project so that you see an improvement in what's happening in the classes that you are conducting. Next example. So in strategy, here are some of the questions. So these questions are being offered to you as thinking prompts to think about what would be most important for you to spend time on and gather information on to see how this helps to improve the thinking in your organization. So, are we planning for the future and we get ideas for the employees? Are we encouraging totally new ideas? Are the plans, are we thinking about how it affects them and their work? Many times a change is introduced, but we don't think about what people have to let go in order to make room for the new. So what kind of progress is being made? And are we flexible where we can make changes quickly? Well, here's an example of strategy, of progress there. Maybe Maple Adult Education wants to move to a new strategy, a strategy of a managed enrollment model. This has great impact. How work gets done at every level, from recruitment to intake to data collection, instructional delivery. Making sure that staff understands the changes and how it will affect the work. So, as a leader, what would you strategically plan to address? How would you help staff understand their roles? How would you measure that they do engage in new work responsibilities and processes? It's moving forward. So when we think about customers, okay, another set of, are we making progress with our customers? Have you decided who your most important customers are? And does everyone know who they are? Do you regularly ask them what they want and need? Are you finding out their level of satisfaction or dissatisfaction with their work? Are they allowed to make decisions? Employees allowed to make decisions to satisfy their customers. Places like Ritz-Carlton lets employees make decisions up to $2,000 to save to address the customer's need. And only the CEO can decide that a person will no longer be a customer there. So here again, if we think about Maplewood Adult Education, they want to know more about what their local employers need. What did change in their program and curriculum? So how would you lead your staff to design and implement a program and an approach to regularly gather feedback from local employers? And when we think about our customers, there's also the end customer. Who is the one really being affected? So if you think of the larger system in which you work, the state of Texas, then...
Marion, you are now presenter again.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. It's Amy. While we're waiting for Paula to join us, maybe we could think a little bit as adult ed practitioners about some of these improvement project examples that Paula was discussing. So right now we're looking at are we making progress with customers? And this example from Maplewood Adult Ed that wants to solicit more information about local employers to inform their needs and curriculum development in order to build career linkages. And this is a new practice for them as adult educators. They hadn't yet really focused on local industry and bringing the employer's perspective and expertise into their curriculum and program development. So, and I know many of you are engaged in this and have been for several years. So we'd love to hear from you. As a leader in your program, how would you lead the staff to design and implement approach to regularly gather feedback from local employers? What are some of your ideas about how your organization might do that?
Amy, while we're waiting, I believe Paula is back on. Paula, I'm going to unmute you, and if you'll speak so we can hear you.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. My apologies. Okay. So I think we finished talking about customers here, and y'all were fixing to ask some questions there.
Well, I think we're going to have we're going to hear from some people about their suggestions for strategies here.
Thank you.
So Paula, Christina Robinson is saying, we asked how they would approach soliciting information from local employers, and Christina says they're working closely with their workforce board for new information. And Juanine is talking about getting the information through business forums and industry panels that target their in-demand industries or their growth industries locally.
I've always found focus groups are very, very important, and it also helps to do some on-site looks at how the actual work is being done in order to better then enable the instructors to actually tailor courses in terms of that too. But focus groups have a way of giving you a lot of great insight. I expect some of y'all are doing that. Smaller groups, then people do a little bit better in terms of saying things that give you information that typically you won't get any other way. It also helps you to build a relationship with that industry so that once they understand what you're doing with the students, they're a lot more willing to then hire students that they know came through a program that was designed and with some tailoring based on their particular needs. So if some of you decide to do some focus groups, then one of the things that I had indicated from the start of the project that I would be quite interested in responding to questions or providing some help or direction in terms of what that might mean. I do agree, community outreach and involvement is very important. So what we have here is a design. So I saw the last chat comment that said that our leadership is out amongst that process very often and having community outreach. The question that I would pose as y'all think about community outreach is the fact that if you have a strategy that has an intentional focus, that there are specific things that you want to know or need to know, then even as the community outreach is there, then aligning that more tightly to what you really want to know and what you really need to know in your process. Sometimes I see that there's a gap there in terms of everybody out listening for the same information, so that as you come back together and say, this is what we learned, that there is a very intentional data gathering process. The scale here, in terms of looking at the are we making progress, which would be your assignment, there's two pieces to the assignment having to do with this. And so as you can see, it's something that's pretty quickly done in terms of, okay, do I really, that strongly disagree, undecided, agree, and strongly agree. And if you have a group that you're working with, you may even ask them to do that so that you have more of a 360-degree look at how well are we doing with the concepts of leadership, strategy, customers, measurement and analysis, operations, the workforce, and getting results. So, things to do between now and June 10th. Go through and assess where you are in making progress, and maybe identify what category you're most interested in exploring. Is it the strategy and the customer? That's where some of you had indicated previously. Do you want to stay with that? And what kind of project might you lead as you think about the questions that are in the Are We Making Progress? The Alamo College profile is like the Tri-County, gives you some ideas in terms of the achievements that are possible. Your survey of Are We Making Progress is part of the handouts that's posted on in the portal, and not something that you have to turn in. It's mainly for your internal assessment and can be used by yourself or a larger group within your organization in order to start the conversation about what would be the most impactful improvement project that we could spend time on these next few months and see something impressively different in 2020. Got some great items there in the portal. It will also give you the information about who is here in the slides handouts, and possibly even a audio transcript of today's conversation.
So this is Marion. Well, I will post the slides in the handout in about 10 minutes right after we're done, so that when you go to the community of practice, you'll be able to download both of those if you want. And you are already enrolled there, so when you log in, you will see, when you go to Connect Communities, you'll see the ALEA community that you're already a member of, and you'll be able to download the information there and also post there. So we'll keep in touch with you there.
So are there any questions that I can answer about the task of Are We Making Progress, or any questions that the conversation we've had so far about what is Baldrige? The answer to why is the fact that you, as a leader, are working to be more and more effective, that this model has proven its effectiveness over 3 years throughout the world, throughout all organizations, and we think that it is the best model we could offer to you as a leader in your organization so that you can excel in many ways, not only now, but in the future.
So this is your chance to ask any questions about Baldrige or about what we talked about today or about what's going to happen in the future. Make any comments or requests. We'll give you just a minute. The participation date slide, okay. It was way back there. Whoop. So when you download the slides, you'll have this. But this is these are all the projected dates through December. So Paula, maybe we can ask the question about 2 reflections while they're also copying down these dates.
Yes. One of the things that we would like from each of you is to think about, you've heard a lot of information this morning, so what are 2 reflections we want to get? So each one of you would give us a reflection on what you heard today and which may be about the content, maybe about the projects, whatever. We would like to know what is your takeaway from today's conversation.
So Brian has a good question about whether you're going to be assigned to a team or are you going to just work with individuals within your own organization?
This is Amy. Hi, Brian. Thanks for posting. I think I can help with that question. Our goal is to have each of you design your own improvement project. But if you're participating in the ALEA with someone from your agency, I think it would be a great idea to talk about potentially doing work together and having one improvement project. But all of the improvement projects will include leading a team within your own organization. And we're going to hear more on June 10th about what the improvement project, how it will be structured, and what will be included in that, and essentially how to design a good improvement project and the timeline for that. And so if you're attending, Brian, with somebody in this academy, from somebody from your organization, I think it would be great to start talking with that person now about how you could combine efforts.
So Amy, if they're not attending as a team, they could just start thinking about individually what to focus on?
Right. So the idea is to take that "Are we making progress?" self-assessment that Paula shared, and that's in the portal, as a way to start thinking about what are the areas that we want to improve on, what are the improvement projects that I want to focus on, and who within my organization would be part of my team to help me implement that improvement project. So you will be designing, each of you, an individual improvement project, but you won't be carrying it out by yourself. You'll be identifying some of the key players and stakeholders that you need on your team in order to move that project ahead over the next few months.
So our next webinar, we'll talk a little bit more about project plans and processes, and go a little deeper into the Baldrige concepts that would help you with a continuous improvement cycle. But having a direction about what you want to think about and where you want to focus, then this is the introductory thinking we'd like for you to do, based on looking at the questions in the "Are we making progress?" and looking at the results that Alamo College has achieved. we will be asking you as part of the beginning of what did you think was most impressive about the Alamo College results? So who would like to offer a reflection on what they heard today?
So anything that piqued your interest?
So Maria Gonzalez says she likes the information, and she on making improvements and what the different considerations are, and the point about letting go. That was a good one, Maria. Josh is interested in learning about the Baldrige approach and to strategy development and implementation. Folks seem interested in the design project and how to make improvement, and everybody's looking forward to the opportunity and the focus. Beth likes the focus on customers, the Baldrige focus on customers, and that Janine is interested in the model and how it's built around employers and customers and focusing on that aspect of it. So it sounds like folks are looking forward to the improvement project, which is excellent, since that's where we're going. And this is very hands-on experiential learning. So the learning that we're doing here, you're going to be able to take back to your organization. And we're really looking forward to, in our next session, finding out more about what you discover through the Are We Making Progress self-assessment, and you're beginning thinking about what type of an improvement project you would lead in your organization. So thank you all so much. I want to thank Paula, and we are going to see you guys again in a webinar in June. And we're really looking forward to digging into the work designing improvement projects and moving ahead with implementation of change management and leadership strategies.
So thank you for the feedback, and please remember that we said at the beginning, this is your academy, your learning, so the feedback that you give us will be very important for us to making sure that we meet your customer needs as we practice what we are preaching.
Well, thank you everybody for joining, and we will see you in our next webinar in June, and look forward to hearing from you and learning more about your thinking.